Welcome back to the Oracle Scroll. Today we're discussing intimacy. Hi, I'm Kevin Walder, your host for the Oracle Scroll. And we're continuing to work our way through this little deck that I've been playing with. And today we're looking at card number 41, Intimacy. Intimacy. Well, of course, when you first say that word, everyone starts to think that it is physical and it begins to be more of a sexual kind of thing. And that is the furthest thing from this card. Okay? We are not here to discuss anything to do with physical intimacy. That can be a byproduct of what we're going to talk about, but the intimacy that we're talking about is the one where we actually connect. And we connect on a deep level. And I'm talking mentally and spiritually and emotionally. The physical part of it is the very last segment to be joined. Everything else comes first. At least it should for most of us. So intimacy. We've all experienced that feeling like someone finally understands me. Someone finally gets me. Someone finally is able to see what I'm seeing and understand how I look at the world. And that is a huge, that's what causes the butterflies in the stomach and all the other aspects of intimacy. It's part of it. But you know what? There is another level of intimacy that we have to achieve before we can ever get to that level. And that is the intimate understanding of ourselves. Boy, now there's some work to be done, because that's a very difficult thing for a lot of us to come to terms with. We all have aspects within ourselves that are probably in need of some overhaul and in need of some work. And whether we're willing to face it or not, those are things that we have to acknowledge and deal with. And intimacy is where it all begins. When we can finally get to the point where we can admit to ourselves, yeah, that's me. Or, yeah, I feel that way. Or, I understand that particular course of action. Or maybe I understand that person, someone who's been misunderstood by just about everyone. So suddenly, when we're intimate and we are intimately acquainted with ourselves, we're able to bring forth an understanding and a compassion that we may not have had at our disposal without that intimate understanding of ourselves. How well do we know ourselves? How well have we actually talked with ourselves and understood exactly where we are and what we think and how we feel? I have always talked about those people, and all, I guess, myself included, who talk to themselves. Talking to yourself is not something to be ashamed of. Sometimes it's the only intelligent conversation you get in a day's time. So talking to yourself actually is a very useful practice. I like to think that just hearing yourself say something, if you're thinking a particular course of action makes sense, just hearing yourself say it out loud is sometimes all it takes to say, "Oh, wait a minute," or, "Oh, that sounded really better than I thought." Those are the kinds of steps that we're taking when we are becoming more intimately acquainted with ourselves. Intimacy is closeness. And that's what intimacy means, is being close, being able to understand and appreciate ourselves on a level that we may not have ever understood or been able to achieve. And once we've done that, then we can begin to expand our circle and begin to look for other people with whom to connect. But we have to have that intimacy first with ourselves. We have to be able to understand that this is who I am. These are my values. This is my core. This is where I begin and end. And you have to understand that before you can understand someone else. And then finding someone who has the right connections that would actually be a perfect connection for you, that's another challenge. But it is much less of a challenge if you already know who you are. And I've often used it in my readings, that we get so accustomed to describing ourselves by what we do. Maybe it's our marital status, or maybe it's where we went to school, or where we live. We're used to using all these labels that originate outside of us. So who are you? Who am I? Those are and when you stop and you get rid of all those labels, you don't have any of those things as reference anymore. Who are you? It's the most difficult question any of us have ever been asked. Intimacy. That's how we're going to learn who we are and why. And then we can begin to expand our circle and connect with those around us. Intimacy happens to be a 5, because it's card number 41, so it's 5 numerologically. And 5s are challenges. Challenges they're everywhere. And this is a particularly personal one. So how are we going to become more intimate with ourselves so that we can share all of ourselves with those around us? Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Oracle Scroll. Please stop by my website at kevinwalder.com, where you can purchase any of the services that I offer. Also, check out my books, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards, and more recently, 22 Teachers, Healing Lessons from the Major Arcana. Both are available at amazon.com. And both are very easily understood and easily followed directions for using the tarot. And most importantly, please subscribe to this channel by clicking the little red button down below, and go ahead and click that bell next to it so that you never miss an episode.